The Hand of God by Diego Maradona is one of the most controversial goals in soccer history. This famous event happened in the match Argentina vs England, played on June 22nd of 1986 in the quarter-finals of the 1986 FIFA World Cup at the Estadio Azteca in Mexico City. The game was held 4 years after the Falkland War between Argentina and the United Kingdom and was a key part in the already intense football rivalry between both nations. This was a 10-week war between Argentina and the United Kingdom over two British overseas territories in the South Atlantic, the Falkland Islands and South Georgia and South Sandwich Islands. The conflict lasted 74 days and ended with the Argentine surrender on June 14th of 1982, returning the islands to the British control. Apart from the goal scored with the hand, the soccer match was also remembered due to the fact that Maradona's second goal was scored after dribbling past more than 5 English players. Both the Hand of God goal and the goal, which is considered the best one in history, allowed Argentina to advance to the semi-finals and later on become World Cup champions. After this match, two perspectives came from Maradona's hand goal. On one hand, the positive perspectives mostly came from Argentinian people. Although the goal was scored with the hand, something that goes against the FIFA rules, Argentinians praised and idealized Maradona. This victory didn't only mean the qualification to the semi-finals of the World Cup, it was also seen as a revenge for the Falkland War where they were beaten by the British. For example, the former Argentinian international player Roberto Perfumo stated, "In 1986, winning that game against England was enough. Winning the World Cup was secondary for us. Beating England was our real aim." This shows that even though Argentina realized that Maradona's goal was scored with the hand, they still celebrated the goal as a way to revenge the British. This native cunning and craftiness was something they were proud of. Furthermore, many Spanish songs were composed to commemorate the famous goal. For example, the most famous song in honor of this famous event is called Mano de Dios, which is translated to The Hand of God, composed by Rodrigo Bueno, an Argentinian singer. One of the most famous passages from the song states, Marado, Marado, sembró alegría en el pueblo, regó de gloria este suelo, which is translated to, Maradona, Maradona, he planted joy in the village, watered glory in this land. This quote truly demonstrates the happiness and pride every Argentinian felt after the match and all the positive perspectives created due to the goal. On the other hand, English people saw this goal with a negative perspective. The game added hugely to the rivalry between the two teams, and in England, many people felt that they had been cheated out of the competition by Maradona's handball. Compared to the Argentinians, the English didn't relate the match to the Falkland War. They were in fact furious and powerless, and they didn't want to accept the victory since the goal was conceded after an illegal act. As a result of the goal, one of the most important people was Bobby Robson, English coach at that time. After the match, he stated, "I saw the ball in the air and Maradona going for it. Shilton went for it as well, but Maradona handled the ball into the net. You don't expect decisions like that at World Cup level." Furthermore, Bobby Robson also said, "They wouldn't think about the sporting aspect of the game. If it gives them a chance of winning and it's illegal, who cares?" Maradona didn't care. He'd actually gone to the crowd for adulation and raised his fist as a superstar, but he was a cheat. As one can see, the perspective from English people clearly differs from the ones from the Argentinians. In this case, people didn't idealize or admire Maradona. Instead, they were mad at him and even hated him, despite his unarguable soccer qualities. Even until now, many English reporters expect Maradona to apologize for his disgraceful act. This is because Maradona has quoted several times that he doesn't regret scoring that goal with his hand. As one can see, Maradona's famous hand goal created two reactions, positive and negative. On one hand, the Argentinians observed this action with a positive perspective because it gave them the opportunity to advance to the semifinals and because it was their way to take revenge from the Falkland War. On the other hand, the English people observed this action with a negative perspective because they thought that the match was stolen from them and they were cheated out of the competition. Two ways of knowing that affect our knowledge of history, our language, and emotion. In this case, these ways of knowing affect how we look at this particular event. For example, language can affect the perspective of how we view Maradona's hand goal, since different articles with different languages have different perspectives. In most cases, articles that are written in Spanish will be in favor of the action. This is due to the fact that most Spanish-speaking countries support Argentina. These articles will usually support Maradona's actions and positive references will be connected to him. However, most English articles will tend to have a more negative perspective since they are written by English reporters. They will tend to accuse Maradona of being a cheat and being a disgrace. Depending on the article's language, our knowledge of this particular event can vary, and our knowledge of this historical event could be distortions. Another way of knowing that affects our knowledge is emotion. In this particular case, what journalists feel toward the hand of God can affect what we learn from this event. For example, a journalist that is not Argentinian or English may have a strong admiration towards Maradona, and thus his emotions could lead him to write an article admiring his action instead of hating it. This could also happen the other way around. A journalist that dislikes Maradona can be driven by his emotions and he could write articles with a negative perspective. These feelings can also be towards the country. Journalists with strong emotions toward Argentina can favor his thoughts towards the positive consequences. However, one with strong emotions toward England can favor his thoughts toward the negative consequences. So what can we conclude from this? As shown, our ways of knowing such as language and emotions affect how we understand and learn history. This means that depending on how we want to look or feel about certain events, we may have different perspectives of what actually happened. Depending on the country or region one is in, the language may play a significant role on analyzing the actions of a certain character. If we just read information in one language, we may only read part of the story and not understand the rest of it. Similarly, emotions also covers one of our eyes. To understand the complete story, one should have neutral emotions and take into consideration both sides of the story. These implications are significant because it allows us to understand history in a more complex way. By knowing how language or emotion can affect what we learn, we might want to look for different sources from different perspectives to understand the whole story. In my personal case, even though I am Latin American and I do prefer Argentina over England, I understand both perspectives of the hand of God, the goal, and I don't let myself get convinced just from what Spanish articles say. In this case, I prefer to say that I support what is correct, and as everyone knows, a goal made with the hand should be invalid.